You're listening to Babci and Yaya Travel the World, and we hope that you are enjoying today's conversation. We invite you to become part of our travel community, so head on over to babciaandyiayia.com. That's BABCIA and YIAYIA. And subscribe to our blog so that you can be kept in the loop as we talk about destinations and how to make travel a priority in your daily life. Whether you are travel dreaming or you've got boarding passes in your hand, we've got resources, plans, and plenty of inspiration to get you ready for whatever adventure awaits. You can find us on all of the social media at Babci and Yaya, and we hope that we see you there. I am here on our amazing episode about travel books and travel literature to talk with Lauren Pelkey. She is the founder and head traveler of Wanderlulu and also is the creating force behind Wally the Wallaby, who is wandering. Am I right?
Very close. Wally the Wandering Wallaby. You had it all in there.
There we go. There we go. It's been a long day. Can you tell? Now, I know that you call your website Wanderlulu because sometimes you're Lauren and sometimes you're Lulu. So that's where the Lulu part comes from. Yes?
That is very true. Came from a nickname from my father after kind of jetting off and going to all these places. Lulu just seemed appropriate and started calling me Lulu, and everyone else followed suit.
I love that. All right, Lulu it is. All right. Now, you did not travel as a kid like a lot of people kind of getting that gypsy spirit when they're little, that kind of wandering gypsy. You were kind of thrown into the deep end, really, when you started traveling. Tell us about what you did.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of times I think you hear all these people who, traveled their whole lives and had these amazing opportunities to travel the world as a young person, which is so cool. Kudos to those parents. But I didn't really grow up that way. I mean, travel was different in my family in a great way. I grew up kind of, doing more local things. And I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point in this chat. But yeah, my first kind of real big travel experience was when I was a junior in college. To study abroad. And I'm sure, you've heard this many times, how life-changing studying abroad can be. And I was for sure one of those stories. Studied abroad in Rome, and it changed my entire life.
It does change your life, doesn't it?
Sure does.
You just feel a magic that you've never felt, right?
It's that.
Amazing. But that really launched you into travel in a big way, though, right? How many countries are you up to these days?
I'm not like a big country counter, to be honest, because I really love slow travel and like really getting to know a place versus like, oh, I went to this place for a day and this place for a day, so that counts. There's kind of a game involved, but I am over 30 countries at this point, something like that.
Amazing. Now, things change for you. Wanderlulu was around for that kind of travel. But tell me about the conversation that you had with, I believe it's your nephew, isn't it?
That is right.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, he was really the game changer in my life in general. When Bo, that's my nephew, when he was born, he's the first, child in my immediate family. When he was born, that love that you feel, that auntie love.
Yes.
It really just consumed me, and I wanted to inspire him. Like many of us, travelers and whatnot, we are looked to as, that go-to person to talk about travel, to show the travel pictures and talk about stories and all these things. So I'm very much known as, the travel auntie or travel friend in kind of my family and friend circle. So I wanted to be that for him. I wanted to be able to inspire him to see the world and kind of open his eyes up to that as soon as possible. So he was really the catalyst for the creation of Wally the Wandering Wallaby. I will be honest, I didn't have it on. I've been a writer for most of my life, but being a children's book author was never really on my radar until the day he was born, and it changed everything.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I have a niece named Gabby and I am just over the moon about her. She's in her 30s now. I still don't care. I'm over the moon about her. I totally understand that auntie love. It's like nothing else. It's so neat.
It's so special, and I don't have children of my own yet. I would like to one day. We'll see, but him and my niece Maeve, they are just, yeah. There's that love you just can't describe.
Oh, Noah and Maeve. Oh, we'll dedicate our episode to them. I love that.
Yeah.
So you wrote this book and you are really putting out there a way for kids to explore the world. Tell us about your character and what he's up to.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about Wally the Wandering Wallaby, who you can't see in this episode, but I am holding the stuffed animal
Oh, he's
version
so
of him.
cute.
He is a cutie. He is a wandering wallaby. He's a very curious creature. He's very curious to learn about the different places around the world, try different foods, meet different people. And the point really of him and his character in general is traveling the world with a wide open heart and mind. That was kind of the, you know, why I wanted to create this character. I wanted to create that character that, just went all over the world with a very open mind to learn about different places, different foods, different languages, and be open to, things that maybe he didn't know growing up where he grew up.
I love that. I teach in this area of the country and we're very close to Ocean City, Maryland. And at the beginning of the year, I always ask, like, what's the most incredible place you'd want to visit? And they all go, Ocean City. And I'm like, or
Or
Japan? How about
right,
Paris? Maybe.
right.
And by the end of the year, you ask the same question, and it's amazing. Their world is so ready for them to open up to all those new experiences, isn't it?
And that's it, right? Just the introduction of these things. You don't know what you don't know, right? And so having just a visual in front of you, the story in front of you, this character who can kind of show you what else is out there and kind of plant that seed. And that's really the goal.
I love that. I love that so much. So, how did you even pick the first destination for him? How was that process of even choosing?
So difficult, first of all.
I can't imagine having to choose one place to start.
Right? So it was definitely a very difficult task, but how I tried to kind of approach it was, okay, where can I draw from, my personal experiences in travel? And also what elements from those places are things that I think kids could really learn something from. And so I went into it with the intention of doing kind of an around the world adventure, which is the first book. It's Wally, the Wandering Wallaby's Around the World Adventure. So I did keep in mind, really going around the world and pulling from my own experiences and also pulling from things and stories that I have heard, that I think could really use a change. And so I kind of want to backtrack a little bit and explain that further. For me, and I think a lot of travelers in general, like, food is such a cultural connector. It's an incredible way to explore a culture that you're not familiar with. The people, it's that connector, right? And so for me, food is a very important thing in travel. And you'll see in the books, there's a lot of food references in these different countries. And a lot of that stems from, I have a friend from Vietnam who born and raised in Vietnam, grew up part of his life in the US, and he got made fun of a lot in elementary school and middle school for the Vietnamese lunches that he would bring into school. And my thought of that was, man, if there was a way to help, at least just a little tiny thing to help, show kids from an early age that foods from other places are delicious, and to be, inquisitive and excited about learning about something different and curious versus quick to judge something that you're not familiar with. And so that was very much like an element that I tried to keep in mind too, like introducing maybe some different foods that these maybe kids had not heard of before. And like, oh, maybe I should be curious like Wally is, to try or to learn about these things, versus be like, oh, what's that? you know?
I love that. It always reminds me of the scene in My Big Fat Greek Wedding when she's eating moussaka in the cafeteria and the kids at the other table call it mouskaka. And it's
Yes.
always like, "Oh,
Yes.
man."
It's that.
Yes, I agree. And it is nice to see that maybe our grocery stores, especially in the United States, are starting to expand and make that food not the international section. It is nice to
Yes.
see that starting. I feel like there's a thawing of the ice there for
Little
sure.
changes, little
Yeah,
changes.
yeah, a little bit by little bit.
And be part
So,
of the change.
what destination would you bring Wally to next? Now that you've
Ooh,
kind of brought him around, where would you kind of send him off to next?
very interesting question. Wally is going on a couple upcoming adventures. So I'm working on two new concepts right now, two new books. You know, I have the two out now.
Yes.
Um, so a hint in the possible next story or the one after. So there's a third and a fourth coming. Wally's going on another around the world adventure, but to new places that he has not been to before, and with a new possible character introduction. So that's exciting. And
Oh,
the
wow.
which is great. And the one that's even more exciting and near and dear to my heart is he will be going on an adventure around a country, a place that is very, very near and dear to my heart. And hint, hint, I live in said country.
Okay, I won't give that away now. I won't give it away because now I know the answer. Okay. All right. Oh, I'm excited for that because we need more books about
We
where
sure
where
do.
you're at
We
for
sure do.
sure.
Yes.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Okay, let's talk about where you come from as a writer now.
Mm.
Tell me, what was the book that you read as a kid that was like, "Oh, this just made me travel to a whole new place."
You know, it's so funny you just bringing this up. A big reason of why Wally the Wandering Wallaby like came to be is because I don't remember having that book. And I
Oh,
wanted to help, I don't want to say be that book, but I wanted to be an option of that book for my nephew. And so
yes.
that's actually interesting you bring that up because when he was born and this idea came to me, not even Wally, just the actual ambition to write a children's book came to
Mhm.
me, and I wrote it down on a little, a little post-it note. I still have that post-it note, by the way.
Oh,
um, I was, I said, oh, I'll find the book that I'm thinking before the post-it note. I'll find that book. There must have been that book for me. There's got to be a book out there. And I kind of went looking for what I had in my head, which is this like very whimsical story, but also like very fact-based, kind of mixed all together to give to him. And I really couldn't think of that exact story that really did that for me. And so I really
mhm.
wanted to create it.
I love that. I love that. I have to tell you, people ask me all the time, what teacher inspired you to become a teacher? I don't have an answer for that. I can't remember any of them, to tell you the truth. I really wish that wasn't a question,
I know.
but it's a good answer, I think, because it puts it in a different perspective, right? Yeah, just like your
Right.
book. I love that. I love that. Okay. Now, you explore through reading for sure, but what advice do you give families that want to get into the travel lifestyle? And I think you kind of touched on this a little.
Yeah. I think where I would start is I think there's this idea that you need to like pick up and move or travel across the world from where you're at in order for it to be like really travel. Like that's what a real
Mhm.
traveler is. And I just don't think that's the case at all. Starting small, traveling to another part of your own state, in my opinion, is traveling.
Yes.
Going to a different section of town that maybe you haven't been to that has different types of food and languages and people there. That's going somewhere and learning something new. And I think that's, to me, that's like the essence of it all. Like that's the essence of travel, is opening up your mind and life to other people, places, things, foods, languages. And to me, if you're able to teach your children that from a young age by going to the state next to you or whatever is in your kind of capacity to do so, like that counts. That is travel too. So I think that's like my first answer to that.
Yeah. I love that because, I feel the same way. I think people underutilize their communities,
Yeah,
which could be a proving ground for parents on checking to make sure their kids are ready before these huge investments in travel are made.
very true.
I mean, I'd rather know that my kid can handle a museum that's around the corner from me before I book a trip to the other side of the country or, across an ocean. I'd
Yeah.
rather not invest in that until I kind of have it down a little bit, you
Yeah,
know?
and like that, maybe that could be like a great starting ground, for that. On the other side of that, on the contrary of what I just said, is that if you want to travel across the world with your family and you've always wanted to go to this place and you want them to see it too, rock on. There is like nothing holding you back. And my number one inspiration for this, by the way, is Monet from The Traveling Child. For anyone listening who is not already following her and her family, um, to me, she is the ultimate inspiration for many, many reasons. One of them being she very much does, adventures in their quote unquote own backyard. I'm pretty sure they're based in Florida. And so, they'll do traveling to a local place and showing what you can learn there about all these things. But also, they're I think they're in Peru right now. They were in Egypt just a couple months ago. And so I think there's a couple different ways to kind of like look at that, in that if it's a place that you want to go, do children live in that country? Then you can go there with your children.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
check your boxes, right? Check your own boxes instead
yeah,
of somebody else's.
yeah,
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 yeah.
I totally agree with you. So, our episode is all about travel literature, which is why we wanted to really showcase what a great book Wally the Wandering Wallaby is, because it is a great place to start with kids.
Hmm.
But what are you up to? What are you reading?
Ooh,
What's your big read these days?
what are my big reads to say? So I will say I just finished Our Last Days in Barcelona recently by Chanel. Do
Mm.
you know Chanel Cleaton? Are you
I don't
familiar?
know that one. That one's actually I love the title already.
Oh my goodness, we can get into that later. But I just finished Our Last Days in Barcelona, which is her most recent book in her kind of series. That's very dedicated to. I learned so much about Cuba, and it's like historical fiction, escapism, romance, like all wrapped into one. And I will say that is my favorite genre.
I love that
um,
genre too.
Oh,
Yeah.
big fan of that genre. So I just wrapped that up, and then I just started. And when I say I just started, I mean like I am pages into The Nightingale, by Kristen Hanna, which takes place in like 1930, 40 France. So historical fiction that takes place, in places of interest or want to go to. Any sort of like escapism is really just
Mhm.
where it's at for me.
Yeah, I'm reading right now. I'm like three-fourths of the way through the Paris Library, which is a World War II.
Ooh, I'm adding that to my list right now.
Yes, so good, so good. World War II, but
Okay,
it's got all those other pieces in it.
great.
So, yeah, the same kind of idea. I like that genre too, by the way. I
Love
love that
that.
genre. Yeah. Okay. Let's end with a couple of quick picks. Just whatever comes to your
Ooh.
mind first. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Best book for adults under the Christmas tree.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to Chanel Cleaton and offer up Next Year in Havana, which is the first book of that series I was kind of telling you
Ooh.
about. Incredible read. It's a must. Put that under the tree. And then the Henna Artist, by Elka Joshi. That series,
Oh,
incredible as well. Those are my two picks in that
those are both
genre.
new to me.
Oof. I
Oh, I love that. Okay. Mine
knowing
is
you a
mine is a
bit,
classic.
I think
Yeah.
you're gonna, yeah.
Mine is a classic every time. Murder on the Orient Express. Everybody who listens to this podcast will know. I am going to
Like
choose Agatha
they already
Christie
knew.
every
They
time. They
already
already
knew.
know. They already know. She's going to
Under the
say it. Yeah.
tree.
You get a copy and you get a copy every time. Okay.
I love it.
Best trip you've ever been on.
Oh, that's just mean.
It is kind of a
That's
mean question.
so mean. That's a pretty like impossible question to answer, but I think it's it's also impossible for me not to mention my like 3 month solo travel trip through Southeast Asia. That was probably the most life changing one of, next to probably my study abroad experience. That was just, it changed me as a person. It was fantastic, challenging, difficult, wonderful, crazy, awesome, like all wrapped in one. Yeah,
There is something about Southeast Asia that is just deep.
deep.
It's just deep. And until you've been there, it's hard to explain to other people. You got to
Yes,
go and feel the deep.
and how it challenges you to go deep
Yeah.
within yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that,
Yeah.
I'll have to put that as my best trip ever.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay. Mine is Poland. Hands down. Poland. I
Ah,
love Poland so much.
are you
Yeah.
going to Poland
We
again?
are
I mean,
launching a huge new venture with babciaandyiayia. We're taking our first small groups to Poland now. Yeah, we're very excited. It's 10 days in Krakow. Yeah,
that
yeah.
is
But I lived in
congratulations.
Japan. Thank you. I lived in Japan for a while, so I've done
Mm.
Asia, and
Yeah,
like I totally understand that.
yeah,
There is
yeah.
something about Poland. I just connect.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. The people, the spirit there. It's like the European Japan. You know the
Mm.
spirit in Japan?
Yes, yes.
Poland. That's
Okay.
that's the European spirit in Poland. I love it.
I
I
w-
love it so much.
I was supposed to go in October and I no longer can go. I'm very sad, but it is on my list, so I will let you know when I go.
Oh, you have to come with us. Oh
Or
my
maybe
gosh.
I just come with you. Exactly.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to send you the information. I love that.
Beautiful.
Okay. Okay. Best place to take young kids. Oh, this is a good auntie question.
Yeah, I think I need to go back to like referring to Monet of the Traveling Child. Because I don't have young children myself, I think it's hard for me to really give like concrete advice on that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes back to my original answer. If you want to go to that place, you can go to that place with
Mm-hmm.
young children. Because I've seen her do it. I've seen so many of these amazing women that I follow who are mothers or bringing their young children there. So I don't know if I have a specific answer versus that's just like more of a motto.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah.
If I have to choose a place, it's got to have water and animals for kids to be there.
Mm,
I got
yeah.
hands down. You can't go wrong with water and animals every time. An aquarium, win-win, right?
An
You can't go
animal
wrong.
sanctuary in Australia.
Okay, I did that. That was amazing.
Yes.
Can I tell you
Yes.
what my kids did? There's kangaroos everywhere, right? There's
Everywhere.
wallabies and kangaroos, no matter where you turn, and they're looking at you like, "Hey, how are you?" You know,
What's up? Yeah,
what's up?
hey.
Yeah. Okay. The juvenile kangaroos, the little teenagers, were on one side of the fence, and my kids were on the other, and they were like 8, 9, and 10. 8, 9, and 10. I'm telling you, my kids ran back and forth with those kangaroos. They raced those kangaroos all day long. It was so much fun. We had such a good time. You can't go
That
wrong. You can't go
loving
wrong in
life.
Australia. That's true.
See, and as you can imagine, that was me visiting an animal sanctuary in Australia was very much the, inspiration for choosing a wallaby as my main character.
I can't imagine why. I
know.
can't imagine why.
They're not the most adorable creatures on earth or anything.
Oh my gosh, they are. They're so cute. Do you know there's wallabies in France?
Where?
There's
Sorry, you cut out for a second.
there's wallabies in France.
Really?
Yes.
How did they get there?
Okay, this guy has them. I have to send you the information for this Airbnb. It's by Giverny, Monet's home. There's a B&B that looks like it's out of Beauty and the Beast, and there's wallabies there. I don't get it at all. I don't see how it goes together. We had such a good time. They were fabulous. I have to send you the information.
I'm very confused, but it sounds fabulous.
Fantastic, right? Okay, if I had to choose a place, though, I would send people to Bruges with their young kids because you cannot go wrong with a city that smells like chocolate and waffles.
Okay. Yes, I changed my answer to that.
I love it. Okay, we'll collectively choose Bruges. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, I love that. Okay, least interesting place for teens.
I don't know. I I know I have like more, I have mottos for these things versus like an
Yes.
actual place, because I really just think of travel in such like it's an essence versus like an actual place.
Hmm.
And I, anywhere can be interesting if you have like the right attitude. I don't know. I don't know. It's just about like creating excitement and opportunities to learn, like no matter where you are. So I don't know. I don't have a like, oh, this is definitely a bad place to bring teenagers. I don't know. Like going in with this mindset of, being excited to learn something new. So it's hard for
The
me to
only
answer these.
the only place that I wouldn't take teenagers is Greece because I want to sit in cafes and I want to sit on the streets in the Plaka and I want to eat and drink good wine and I don't want them there.
Yeah, but send them on an excursion with a trusted person, and you can do that. There's
Yeah, yeah.
ways.
Or I can leave them at home. We'll
Or
see. We'll
that.
see.
Or that.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Most overlooked destination.
For me, this is easy, even though it is very much gaining popularity. So I think this is probably changing, and I see so many more people being excited about coming here, posting about it, talking about it, and especially with Encanto coming out. But up until recently, I would definitely say Colombia,
Hmm.
which, spoiler alert, is where I live.
That's true. You
Yeah,
are in Bogota. That's
that's
true.
right. So I think it has been overlooked for a very long time, mainly because, as I'm sure you have heard, and probably all the listeners have heard, just like all the negative press around, Narcos and all these stories that people have like latched onto and don't realize just what an incredible place this is, and that is a part of it, and it's a part of their history. Of course, you can't deny that, but how much this place has to offer, from physical landscape, Pacific Ocean, Caribbean Sea, islands, desert, Andes Mountains. Um, the list continues. It's such a diverse landscape. The food scene, the people, the art, the music, the dancing. It's like there's like 10 countries in one here. There's so many different cultures within, of course, like many other places, but it's just so overlooked. And I think also people think Colombia, oh, Cartagena, that's it.
Hmm.
And there is so much to learn and see and understand, and yeah, just get to know here. So yeah, Colombia, overlooked.
I totally can agree with that. I see. I think South America is overlooked in
Mm-hmm.
general.
Oh, absolutely.
Comparatively, I think people are always going to say Europe and Asia before they say South America. But I have
Which is like,
two. Yeah,
why?
I know, because it's far more diverse than I think people give it credit for down there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have two. I think Canada is overlooked by Americans. I think people forget. Yeah, and County Donegal in Ireland is the other one. Everybody goes south,
Oh.
nobody goes north.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
and I think I like everybody goes to the cliffs of Moher in
Sure.
Ireland. Meanwhile, the better cliffs are in Donegal, 100 miles to the north of you. They're double the size. There's half
Gee.
the people. It's amazing. There's beautiful paths and everything, and I think people just kind of miss out on that moment
Yes.
in such a popular destination. Yeah, that's just me though.
Absolutely. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Great
Okay.
suggestions.
Best travel advice you give.
Best travel advice I give, I think using travel as an opportunity to grow. And I think maybe this is contrary to other people's beliefs, but sometimes I think we get very swept up in like the pretty pictures of Instagram and this like perfect facade of like no one is in your picture, and it's this perfect image, and like that's just not travel. It's not perfect. It's messy, it's crazy, it never goes to plan. And like using travel as an opportunity for personal growth. It's beyond just like the perfect, beautiful Instagram picture. I love a good, perfect Instagram picture. Don't get, I
Absolutely.
am totally not putting that down, but just understanding that that's very much this very, very small, tiny piece of what it actually looks like. And, yeah, just to say just to say you went somewhere, taking that picture versus like really go somewhere, really go, get to know, wander. Wandering's my favorite way to travel. If you couldn't guess that from Wally the Wandering Wallaby and Wanderlulu, my
I
two
love
travel
that.
brands. So yeah, using travel as an opportunity for personal growth and to really get to know a place versus like, let me just go see what I saw on Instagram.
I agree with you, and I think that lesson is learned nowhere better than in Oya in Santorini, Greece, when you take the picture of
No.
yourself with the sunset and it looks like this calm, beautiful thing. And I always turn the camera around and take a picture of what I'm looking at because it is anything but calm. I always say when I'm in that spot that chaos is a Greek word. It cracks me up every time that I'm there. Every time.
And there's something to be said about I'm not one of those like, well, don't go anywhere that's touristy. I am so that's not me. I'm so not above that whatsoever. Places are touristic for a reason. They often have incredible history and so beautiful. But just like knowing, so for example, your example I think you just gave about Santorini, is that right?
Yeah.
Now, however many miles this way in Amorgos, Greece, where there's like, it's a massive island with like 100 people living on it. And you really do get that real, holy smokes, there's the sunset, and you turn around and there's no one but like some sheep and goats around you and like a beautiful flower, wildflowers growing. And so, twofold, right?
Exactly.
It's balance.
I love that. Balance is best. It really
Balance
is.
is best.
Oh, Lauren, this has been so much fun. I'm so glad we got to catch up about your amazing foray into children's literature, which has gone over so well in all the little schools in our area. You've been talking to them all week as we record, and people can find you at Wanderlulu on all of the social medias. And also at Wally Wandering Wallaby as well, correct? If they want to kind of catch on to that, the kids' ends of what you're doing there. So I love both of those for sure. And you will be next up in New Orleans at Wanderfest. Am I right?
That is right. I was there last year as well. It's a women's travel festival put on by Wonderful, who I actually work for. And I had the opportunity to have a booth there for Wally the Wandering Wallaby, and it's so fun introducing Wally to all these amazing travel women in the community. So I will be there again with all my Wally things and hopefully some new and exciting products to share.
Oh, I love that. Lauren, thanks so much for wrapping up this amazing episode with us. We're so happy you were able to join us today.
Thank you so, so much for having me. It has been a blast. And yeah, just thank you. Really, this is awesome.
All righty.
The travel industry has taken quite a blow from several global issues, including the war in Ukraine, the climb out of the COVID-19 crisis, and inflation that makes it hard for people to get out into the world like they want to. At this point, leading experts are predicting that it's going to take up to 3 years for the travel industry to bounce back to full force. One way that you can help the travel industry is to like and subscribe to 10 microbloggers. Each time you do, you're telling all those travel industry experts that you are ready to enjoy everything that the world has to offer, and you can start with us.
That's right. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and even LinkedIn at babciaandyiayia. That is BABCIA and YIAYIA. We'd love to hear from you. Contact us at babciaandyiayia@gmail.com with your questions, suggestions, favorite travel tips, products, and travel trends so that we can share your ideas in the future.
babciaandyiayia is our home base for everything we love about travel. It's where our blog and show notes live and where we share access to all of our resources, including travel literacy for kids. We always have new posts about all the things we love about travel, including today's topics, as well as featured destinations, travel lifestyle, and stories to make you smile.
Didn't get all of that? No worries. Just check out our show notes for all of the ways to stay in touch and links to anything we chatted about in this episode. As always, thanks for joining us for our journey.